What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about our final lesson during our geometry unit. Today we are focusing on the volume of rectangular prisms. So for this lesson, you'll probably want a calculator, grab yourself some paper, something to write with, and a formula sheet would also be handy. So pull your formula sheet out to use as you follow along through the lesson. First, let's just start with the general idea of volume. Volume is the number of cubic units needed to fill a 3D object. So essentially you're thinking of, for volume, how much space is inside of a 3D object? And we measure it in cubic units. So essentially we're determining how many cubes fit inside of that three-dimensional object. Now, for rectangular prisms, we do have a formula that we can follow to calculate how much space is inside of those rectangular prisms. So if you pull out your formula sheet, the rectangular prism is the second object on the right-hand side, and it has two formulas. You should recognize the surface area formula from last week, and then at the very beginning, here's our volume formula. V equals LWH, length times width times height. So pretty simple calculation. To calculate the volume, you take the prism's length, multiply it by its width, and multiply it by its height. Let's go ahead and try out a couple problems. Our first example is on the board or on the screen. Grab a sheet of paper, work through it with me. We are calculating volume, and I know that my shape is a rectangular prism, so my very first step will be to copy down the volume formula from your formula sheet. V equals LWH. So volume equals length times width times height. And just like rectangular prisms last week, it does not matter which dimension is your length, your width, or your height, just as long as you account for all three of the dimensions. So I'm going to make my length 10, my width 8, and my height 4. And substituting those values into the formula, 10 times 8 times 4. 10 times 8 times 4, use your calculator if you need to. 10 times 8 times 4. We get an answer of 320. Our original unit of measure was feet, and because we are calculating volume, those units will be cubic. So we say the volume is 320 cubic feet. So CU and feet. You could also write it as 320, and then our feet, and then an exponent of 3 on that label is a shortcut for cubic. So cubic, 320 cubic feet. Either way, you decide to write it. All right, our next example, again, we're finding the volume of this rectangular prism. So I'm going to start by copying down my formula. Please follow along with me. Volume equals length times width times height. I'm going to say my length is across the top here, or across the bottom. It is 1/2 an inch. My width is going to be this measure back here. It is 1/4 of an inch. And then my height, how tall the prism is 1/2 of an inch. Let's plug those values into our formula. Length is 1/2. Touching W means we're multiplying. The width is 1/4, and the height is 1/2. So 1/2 times 1/4 times 1/2. Use your calculator if you need to. You should get 1/16 of a cubic inch. All right, here's two prisms for you to try on your own. Pause the video, copy down the material or the information you need, and calculate the volume of both these prisms. Once you've calculated that volume and appropriately labeled it, begin playing the video again to come back and see how you did. All right, guys, let's check your work. Volume equals length times width times height. 5 times 3.5 times 4.7 for the first one. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. 5 times 3.5 times 4.7. And I get 82.25. And don't forget your label. These will be cubic feet. 82.25 cubic feet. Second problem, volume equals length times width times height. 3 1/2 times 2 2/3 times 6. I'm going to go ahead and complete that multiplication on my calculator. 3 1/2 times 2 2/3 times 6. We get a volume of 56 cubic inches. All right, I have a couple more examples I want to show or share with you about volume of rectangular prisms. Take a look at this next problem. It says find the height of the prism if its volume measures 30 cubic units. Well, because I'm dealing with volume and I have a rectangular prism, I'm of course going to start with my volume formula. Volume equals length times width times height. But now they tell me that the volume is 30, so I'm going to take 30 and I'm going to plug it into V. And I know my length is 12, my width is 1/4, and because my height is unknown, I'm going to keep the variable h. And to find the height of this prism, I'm essentially solving for h. Let's go ahead and multiply 12 times 1/4. You should get 3. So rewriting my equation, 30 equals 3 times h. Now, if I want to find the value of h, I'm going to solve this equation by isolating the variable. Right now, h is being multiplied by 3. The inverse is to divide by 3. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I do the same thing to the other. So I am dividing both sides by 3. I'm left with h equal to 10. So the height is 10. And of course, we are measuring in units here. So I'd say the height is 10 units. All right, last thing you're going to be asked to do with volume of a rectangular prism. Instead of giving you a length, a width, and a height, they will give you a figure where you actually see the cubic units that fills that rectangular prism. And they'll give you a little piece of information about each of those. So each cube in the prism has a side length of 1/2 centimeter. So if I was to calculate the volume, I'm still going to do volume equals length times width times height, but now I need to find what those dimensions are. Every cube is 1/2 centimeter. So if my length is across the front, each one of these is 1/2. This is 1/2, and this cube 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 is 1/2. So if I want that entire length, 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. My width would be down the side here. There's 1, 2, 3 halves. And my height up this way, 1, 2 halves. And so now I can plug those into my volume formula. Volume equals the length, which is 5/2, times the width, which is 3/2, times the height, which is 2/2. Use your calculator if you'd like, or calculate it by hand. Does not matter to me. 5/2 times 3/2 times 2/2. Oop, typed that in incorrectly, my mistake. Times 3/2 times 2/2. All right, and we get 15/4. I want to make that a mixed number, so I'm going to convert it on my calculator, and I get 3 3/4. So the volume 3 3/4. We are measured in centimeters, so these would be cubic centimeters. All right, here's one for you to try on your own. Calculate the volume of this prism, knowing that the side length of each cube is 1/4 of an inch. Once you've calculated that volume, come back and check your work to see how you did. Okay, boys and girls, let's check your work. First, my formula, volume equals length times width times height. 1/4 for every cube, so 1, 2, 3/4 across the front. 1, 2, 3, 4/4 down the side, and then my height, 1, 2/4. Volume equals 3/4 times 4/4 times 2/4. Calculator time. 3/4 times 4/4 times 2/4. We get a volume of 3/8, and let's check our unit. These are inches, so my volume would be 3/8 of a cubic inch. Boys and girls, please complete your independent practice assignment on volume. Take a picture of your work and upload that file for submission. I'll see you guys next time.